Hi for today we're going to be learning about rounding numbers. The learning intention. We need to round numbers to the nearest 10, 100, 1,000 or tens of thousand. To be successful, first thing you need to do is decide which is the last digit to keep. Increase it by 1 if the next digit is 5 or more. This is called rounding up. Leave it the same if the next digit is less than 5. This is called rounding down. And replace all the digits after the last digit you want to keep with a 0. This will all be made a little bit clearer when we go through a few examples. Rounding numbers. What does rounding numbers actually mean? It's a method of approximating a number to its nearest place value. Rounding means making a number simpler by keeping its value close to what it was. The result is less accurate, but it is easier to use. For example, 73 rounded to the nearest 10 is 70 because 73 is closer to 70 than to 80. But 76 goes up to 80 because 76 is closer to 80 than 70. Rounding numbers. We need to round 3,567 to the nearest 100. You can see the number 5 is in the place value of hundreds. It has been indicated in red. Steps to success. The first thing you need to do is identify the digit in the hundreds place value. The reason why we are identifying the digit in the hundreds place value at this stage is because this question is asking us to round to the nearest 100. Increase it by 1 if the next digit is 5 or more, or leave it the same if the next digit is less than 5. And then you need to replace all the digits after the last digit you want to keep with zeros for each digit. Working. The digit in the hundreds place value is 5, so that's the last digit we need to keep. The next digit is a 6, which is greater than 5, so we need to increase the digit in the hundreds place value by 1. 5 increased by 1 is 6. And then the digits after it get replaced with a 0. So when this number is rounded, it gets rounded to 3,600. We're now going to be rounding numbers to the nearest 10. For example, 74 to the nearest 10. We want to keep the 7 because it's in the tens position. Because remember, we are rounding now to the nearest 10. The next digit is a 4, which is less than 5, so no change is needed to the 7. It remains the same, but we replace the 4 with a 0. So our answer is 70. This number, therefore, gets rounded down because 70 is smaller than the original number, which is 74. Example 2. Round 286 to the nearest 10. We want to keep the digit 8 because it is in the tens place value. We now need to look at the number next to it, which is 6. It is greater than 5, so we need to increase the 8 by 1 to make 9. So this number gets rounded to 290. Remembering the number after the digit you want to keep gets replaced with a 0. This number, 286, gets rounded up because 290 is bigger than the first number that we started with, which was 286. So now I'm going to show you how to round to the nearest 100. The principles remain all the same, but now we need to keep the last digit, which is in the hundreds place value, because we are rounding to the nearest 100. Example 1. 349 to the nearest 100. We want to keep the 3 because it's in the 100ths position. The next digit is 4, which is less than 5, so no change is needed to the 3. But these numbers, the 4 and the 9, need to get replaced with a 0. So our answer is 300. This number, 349, gets rounded down because 300 is smaller than the original number, which was 349. Example 2. Round 2,463 to the nearest 100. We want to keep the 4 because it is in the hundredths position. The next digit is a 6, which is 5 or more, so we need to increase the 4 by 1 to make it 5. The numbers after it get replaced with a 0. So our answer is 2,500. This number, 2,463, gets rounded up because you can see that the answer, 2,500, is larger than the original number, which was 2,463. Now to round numbers to the nearest 1,000. I bet you're already thinking that, the last digit we want to keep is the number in the thousands position because we're rounding to the nearest 1,000. Well, you're correct. Round 6,274 to the nearest 1,000. We want to keep the 6 because it's in the thousands place value. We need to look at the next number, which is a 2, which is less than 5, so no change is needed to this 6. And the digits that follow it all get replaced with a 0. So our answer is 6,000. 6,274 gets rounded down to 6,000. Example number 2. Round 13,786 to the nearest 1,000. The number in the thousands place value is the 3. So that's the number we want to keep. The next digit is a 7, which is 5 or more. So we need to increase the 3 by 1 to 4. And the digits after it get replaced with a 0. So our answer is 14,000. This number, 13,786, gets rounded up because 14,000 is larger than 13,786. And finally, we're going to be rounding numbers to the nearest 10,000. Example 1, round 12,472 to the nearest 10,000. So the number in the tens of thousands place value is the 1. That is the last number that we want to keep. The next digit is a 2, which is less than 5, so there is no need to change the 1, but all the digits after it get replaced with a 0. So our answer is 10,000. 12,472 gets rounded down. The next example, round 28,346 to the nearest 10,000. We want to keep the 2 as that is in the tens of thousand position. The next digit is an 8, which is 5 or more. So we need to increase the 2 by 1 to a 3. The digits after it get replaced with a 0. So your answer is 30,000. So 28,346 gets rounded up because 30,000 is larger than the original number of 28,346. Your activity. You need to complete the following rounding questions on Canvas, and you need to be prepared to explain rounding to your talk partner in class. Happy rounding, Year 4!